actually just the pinnacle of the day. We're blessed. For some of you that aren't patients here in the office, welcome to Chiropractic first. I'm Dr. Freddie and part of our ministry in this area is to really communicate our vision of creating a healthier community, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. So, part of today is to have a celebration, enjoy the day. We also want you to leave with something that can really impact and maybe change your life. So there's lots of handouts, and there's a little bag to make sure you pick up with some flyers of some of our local sponsors. And also we saw Raptor here earlier, and he did a great job revving up the energy. So now we're going to kind of take to the top with our special guest here, Chuck Swirsky. And Chuck is he's a patient here in the office with his entire family, and we're blessed to have seen them for about a year now. But more importantly, I've learned as many things probably from Chuck as I hope he's learned from me. And a lot of the principles and things that you'll see with his enthusiasm and his energy. Most of you know he's the announcer, the voice of the Toronto Raptors here. He's well known within the sports community around the world with his work on radio and television broadcasting for many, many years. But I think the greatest thing I've learned from Chuck in the last year is just his values and his principles, and how he's really here to set an example for his children and for those that he meets, and really setting a godly example how to be a strong man and a good leader. So let's help welcome Chuck Swirsky.
You know what? A lot of you have come out, and maybe you're in passing, and maybe you've got schedules, so we're going to keep this brief, but I do want to thank Dr. So for the invite today. If you do have a cell phone, if you could just put it on vibrate or hold for a second, so we can just talk to you and kind of get focused and locked in for a few minutes. But Dr. So's right. We've been coming here for a year, and this is not a paid political announcement, but it's true. About a year ago, I had never been to a chiropractor. I have no idea. Going into an office, what they do other than work your back, and I thought it was boom, 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 and you walk out the door and all that. I had no understanding. And then I met Dr. So through our church and got a chance to know him a little bit. And he said, why don't you bring your family in? And here they are, right here. It's TC, and TC will turn 12 in August. The middle child is Kara, and Kara will be 10 in July, and she's sitting right in front of me. And I really want a chance to embarrass her by saying I'm glad she's here, because she always gets embarrassed saying, Dad, please, just don't do it. And then Mark is our youngest, and Mark is 8. And we come here once a week to get our backs worked on, but it's more than just a back to work on. It's the central nervous system, it's the backbone, and it affects your outlook on life because you don't have headaches, and that's my commercial. But I do want to say this has been extremely, and really about the landscape of sports and life, because the two really intertwine. When I was a kid, I grew up in a single-parent home, and maybe some of you are single parents in this room. My father was a captain in the U.S. Navy for an American, and my father was always gone on a naval vessel. And so I really didn't get a chance to know him much, because he would be gone for anywhere from 4 months to 10 months at a stretch. And he was able to serve the United States Navy throughout a lot of different periods in his life. And then after we got transferred from Norfolk, Virginia to Seattle, I came home one day and I was walking home from school, and I noticed all of a sudden there were a lot of cars around our house and whatnot. And I walked in the door and my mom is there and she's crying, and like our whole house was up for grabs. I didn't really know what was going on. And then I learned that my father had passed away. And at that point in time, my mom really called the shots in the house. And I have 2 older sisters, and it was interesting to understand the dynamics. And one thing she told me, in fact, that night, the first night that I realized that I wasn't going to see my father anymore, she said, you know what? Life is like an orange, and you got to squeeze the most out of it. And I can't believe that it's been 37 years since my father passed away, but it's true. That life is like an orange, and you have to squeeze the most out of it. It's how you squeeze the orange is important. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because the bottom line is all of us have gifts. All of us have been created by God to maximize His strengths and glorify Him through what we do for a living. And for me, it's broadcasting. I enjoy calling the play-by-play for the Raptors. We enjoy living here. We enjoy going to the ACC. We enjoy meeting people. We enjoy getting to know Dr. So and understanding what his strengths are and allowing to give back to the community like days like this. And by the way, if you are a newcomer, have never experienced what a relationship about people is in business, this would be a great place to start, because really, we're like family here. We walk in the door and you're welcome. Well, the same thing happens in your workplace. And you know, in sports, there's a word called impact. You become an impact player in sports. Whether you're in the National Hockey League, an impact player, for example, would be a Carlos Delgado or a Matt Sundin or a Vince Carter. Well, you can be an impact player in your neighborhood by getting involved, rolling up your sleeves, and say, today I want to help a neighbor out. I want to help my school out. I want to help my church out. I want to help my next door neighbor. Any way you can help, you know, whether it's maybe painting a room, maybe running some errands for somebody, do something important, and that is giving back to the community. Another word we talk about a lot of times in sports is focus. A lot of coaches in a scouting report will say, we have to focus on stopping this player and that player and making sure that we box them out. Don't let him get the rebound. Where is our focus right now in life? I'm going to give you a tip, okay? The focus right now in our life should not be the wallet. And I realize we have bills to pay and we have to be held accountable on certain things, but I'm telling you right now, the focus in our life should be your mind, your body, and your soul. And everything stems in my life with my relationship with Jesus Christ. There's no question about it. And the bottom line is it affects how I think, how I live, and my entire focus with my world, with my family, with Kara, with TC, with Mark, and my wife. And so I suggest that right now, if you have any questions about where you're headed in your world, you ask Dr. So, you ask people that work for him, and they'll give you a good indication about what makes him tick. And the same thing in your world. Because I'm telling you what, life is too short. There's more to life than just punching the clock, going to work 8 to 10 hours, coming home, eating dinner, watching TV, and you start the routine. I am not a routine kind of guy, and Kara could tell you that. I eat, live, and breathe. I love my family. I enjoy what I do for a living. But first and foremost, I love the relationship I have with my God. The other thing I want to talk about is enthusiasm. Very seldom in life will you see a person who's not successful without enthusiasm. You have to have passion. You have to have desire. I see it all the time in players. I would rather have a player with less skill. You got to have some talent to play in the NBA. But I would rather have a player with less skill, but who has that drive and passion and really that love for the game, than somebody who's going through the motions. Now, I'll give you an example. When I was in Chicago, I did the pre-half and post-game shows for the Bears radio network. How many people remember the '85 Bears when they won the Super Bowl? They had William Perry and Walter Payton and Dan Ham. In fact, William Perry was a rookie on that team. We called him the refrigerator. This guy was so big. He was born October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. He was huge. He was huge. And we had a club. And the reason why the Bears won the Super Bowl that year is because they had players who wanted it more than the other team. There were a lot of talented players in the NFL, but these guys went after it with so much desire. When they woke up in the morning, they said, you know what? I don't care what happened yesterday. I'm getting after it today. And you know what? Again, it comes because your mind is clear, your body feels good, and you want to go out and you want to conquer the world. And you know what? It reflects and radiates everything around you, in your home life, in your workplace, the social contacts that you have with friends and family members. It's great. And I'll tell you one thing, and I mean this sincerely, and again, this is not a commercial plug, but I travel so much. When I come in here to get work done, I feel a lot better. So when I leave that door, I don't have to worry about today I'm going to get a throbbing headache or my back's going to be out of place. But you know what the same thing is? I would suggest that when you start looking at your life and you say, how can I eliminate what? Stress. All of us have stress. I have stress. You have stress. We have stress at home. We got stress going to work with traffic. We have stress once we get to work. And you say, hey, what about that report I turned in yesterday? Did you turn it in? Oh, I forgot to turn it in. And then you get all ticked off. And then all of a sudden you expect to have a meeting at 1:30. You get the call at 1 o'clock. I can't make it. Something happened. And then all of a sudden it's a ripple effect. So how do you deal with stress? How do you cope with stress? It all stems from what's in your heart and what's in your spirit and your soul. I truly believe that. because it will have a domino effect in the way you live, period. A couple other points I want to make, and that's about the NBA and the Raptors. You know what? We have an opportunity to talk with multi-millionaires. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I'm around guys who own 10 cars, and they're all expensive, who own different houses on different sides of the coast, who can buy anything they want. In fact, I'll give you an example. This year, I'm on our team bus. One of the players is on his cell phone on the bus, and he's talking with his agent. The conversation goes something like this. Yeah, so when can I get that Hummer too? Okay, so you'll be able to deliver it on Thursday? Great. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the cost is. You know, I'll just give you a check. Okay, thanks. Boom, just like that, in a 30-second conversation, a Hummer too. Boom. Because they've got the disposable income, they want it, it's trendy, whatever the case may be. But then you know what happened? About 3 weeks later, guy picks up the phone. Hey, you know what? That Hummer was okay, but hey, I just saw an automobile magazine, and this car that is coming out in Europe, it is fantastic. It's fantastic. Can I get that overseas, over here, and then maybe I can pick it up in the off season? I'll go and pick it up in D.C. or New York. You tell me. Thanks. Bye. So what happened? In a 3-week or 3-month span, from a Hummer to a new car, he wasn't satisfied. It was flavor of the month. It came and went. And you know one thing that told me that money cannot buy happiness. All these things are fleeting. The chairs, the table, everything. You know what? It's important, but it's not important. What is important is where are we at in our life? And where are we at with our relationships with our wives, our husbands, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, and our children? Our children are the future for tomorrow. And one thing that is stressed over and over and over again is the fact how we live our lives in a godly manner through my relationship with Christ that stems from everything. The bottom line is that I suggest right now that you reconnect with God. And I stress that you reconnect with family, because it is everything. And you will have a completely different outlook on life. Because I'm telling you right now, the same person that bought that Hummer and that fancy car in Europe, it's not going to satisfy him. You know what? He could go out and buy 10 more houses, and he'll show people, and after a while, he'll walk in and visit another player down the road, see a friend, and he'll say, man, that's a great-looking house. Why didn't I think of that when I built it? So you know what they'll do? They'll build another house. And we're guilty of that, maybe on a smaller scale, but we're guilty. We buy something, and then down the road we see something, and we go, oh, had I only waited. Or, man, I'd like to upgrade where I'm at now. And so, again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. And I want to share again from the heart how much I appreciate Dr. So and his family for not only for his expertise and wisdom and advice and what he has given our community by opening his doors today, but by helping us out physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Because everything, again, just like in the vertebrae where everything is connected, the same thing with the points in our life are all follow one to another. And I love doing what I do. God has put me in a position as broadcaster for the Raptors to touch so many people. And in turn, they have touched my life. And I'm a richer man for it. Not necessarily in the wallet, but from the heart. And, and I look at children like my daughter Kara and my sons when I go home at night, and I think of the legacy that I'm going to live and leave. Because one day, and I mean this sincerely, one day, when I breathe my last breath, and I'm in that box, and I'm in the funeral home, and my children are around, and people are coming by to pay the last respects, and I'm in that box, and I am dead. I am cold as the floor I'm standing on. My children are there. People are coming by. You know what? Well, I don't really care if they come by and tell my daughter or sons and my wife, boy, you know what? Your husband was really enthusiastic on those basketball games, or he really liked the Raptors, or he liked the NBA. You know what I want them to say? Hey, your husband was a servant for God. That's all I care about. The rest is ice cream on the cake, but what I care about is the legacy I'm going to leave my children. And that's what you should think about today. And by coming to a place like this, and when you leave the door, you can say, man, you know what? This was invigorating, not only for my back and for my neck and for my head and just getting everything together, but you know what? I feel like I want to share the good news and go out and get it done. And that's what it's all about, passion. So I thank you for coming out today. Thank you for the So family for having us. And I'll be around if you want to talk NBA hoops or basketball or what's up with Vince Carter. And, we went 24 and 58, so there's only one way to go, and that's up. But I'm excited about, I'll say this, I am very excited about our future. I'm excited that we're going to hire a good coach. I'm excited about the fact we have a top 6 pick, and we'll learn more on May 22nd. Is that right, May 22nd? For the lottery? Thank you. So I have to go to my daughter for answers. But May 22nd for the lottery. Our draft is June 26th. It's going to be a great off season because I think we're really going to have our players come into camp in shape. Our players were not in shape this year. And people want to know, why am I banged up? Why am I getting injured? Well, they're at the highest level of you can play in athletic sports. The NBA, 82 games. We're on flights. We're on buses. We're playing games. Players get knocked down. They jump. They run. And the same thing applies to our lives. You got to get in shape. You got to take care of your body. You got to make sure your body takes care of you. But first, you've got to make the effort to take care of your body. And that's why it's important that maybe you can see Dr. So and say, hey, I need some help. And you know what? Let's get it done so I can make sure instead of living, another 15, 20, 25 years, I can live for another 30 years or 35 years. But no one's really guaranteed tomorrow. And that's why you got to get right with God and certainly take care of your body in the same breath. So again, let's get fired up. I hope that you enjoyed the Raptor today. We can still have some treats that are here. And again, I'll be talking Raptors Bowl. Anytime you want to have a Raptors Bowl, go to our website, raptors.com. There's a little box you can click on. Write me a question. You will get an answer. I promise that. Thank you very much. And Doctor...
I really want to thank Chuck for being here from the bottom of my heart. I didn't have any clue about anything he was going to say today. I don't think he did either, probably. But the amazing thing is that he came from his heart, and he had the busiest week I can imagine this week. He's on the radio every single day, and he's got things pretty much every day. I know he values his family above all else, and that's why we appreciate taking the time of this busy day. So I'd like to give you this little gift.
Thank you.
Something I think will inspire you. And so, if there's one thing we can do to thank Chuck, because I know the greatest thing I get from people is not just the time I spend with you, but what you do with things that we share with each other. So I think the greatest thank you we can give to Chuck today is just to take some of these things he's talked about and act on it. It's one nice thing to spend some time here in fellowship and have a great time and some food, but let's really do something different. And so I encourage you to do that. And for those of you that do want to search a little bit further in your walk with God, we've got a couple people here. John is here, if you raise your hand down, from the Gideon's ministry, and he's got some free gifts, some free Bibles to hand out to people that are interested. If you just want to sit and talk, we're all here to do that. There's lots of food left over. And also, outside under the tent, we'll be doing some free spinal screenings for those of you that want to find out more about the physical side of your body, as Chuck talked about. So I'll leave you with this thought. Kind of, Chuck talked about how we live our lives. One thing I've heard, and this is definitely true, is that we don't know how long we have on this earth. We don't know when we're going to die. We don't know how we're going to die. But we do always have choices on how we live. So let's focus on how we live day to day and serve others. Okay? So have an awesome day, and we'll hopefully get a chance to meet with you a little bit more.